All right, so welcome back to Chumming with the Spirits. We're going to take a shot of something. I don't really know what I'm drinking at this point. Fireball, Hick.
That's it.
And we're going to talk about, continue with personal experience. Why am I blanking right now?
With our guest Juan.
With our guest Juan. So, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers.
Oh, man. That's good. All right. So let's pick up.
Back to Juan on.
So I just want to bring. I want you to continue with your chum, but you and I, 35 years, and we ran pretty hard on some things.
Not fast.
Pulling you out of apartments to keep you from beating someone's ass, all kinds of things. But to me, I think one. And I don't take this lightly. I don't believe in mediumship and stuff like that. I think they're full of shit. But I think
we only deal with extra large.
Extra large, double X. But I do believe
he likes them big girls.
Juan is kind of like Jeremy. He's really grounded, right? So I think he has an extra, if you want to say, sixth sense that he can tune into stuff. And I mean, from all the stuff we've been through, I think you've sensed things. You're like, oh no, Dave, we're out of here. I mean, even when you're pulling me out of jail, I mean, there was which did happen, maybe one or two times. But
that's an interesting conversation to talk about.
But it's not for this show.
No,
it's for over dinner or something like that.
So he pulled you out of jail before someone pulled out of you in?
Oh no, sorry, I was finished and so were they.
So do you feel like you have a good personal intuition when you're dealing with people or areas?
That's a great way to put it.
I think so, because I tell you what, when I meet somebody, well, for one, I used to be in the military, and I one of the things I did was a human resource advisor, and we did like a lot of diversity type stuff, and we would teach people how to understand people, read their body languages, and we taught people how to be leaders. So to be leaders, you have to be able to study people and understand them and understand where they're coming from and being able to communicate with them. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that I specialized in, and we had all these types of special courses that would teach people. But one of the things it was kind of controversial, but one thing that I would tell you is like, everybody judges somebody when they see them. Now, the difference between what we taught and what a lot of people did was, when you judge somebody, you can't stick to that. You have to start learning them and understand who they are. You put them in a box when you meet them, but they can't stay in that box. You got to realize who they are and how they're different. And with that, that's something I've kind of done all my life, which I analyze people, I analyze situations, and I'm very technical, and that's just my character, and it's hard for me to get away from that. In fact, I was told that I wasn't emotional enough. I'm thinking, emotional? That's kind of a girly thing. But guys aren't emotional enough, but I'm not emotional enough because emotions kind of impair your judgment. And I was told that emotions impair your judgment in a good way. I say they do it in a bad way. but one of the situations they told me was like, well, what if you saw a child get hit by a car? It's like, you're not going to have the empathy for that child? I'm thinking, okay, I can have empathy for the child, but I can't let my emotions run away with me to where I can't deal with that situation.
Right.
You have to start thinking logically, or rationally. It's like, hey, this kid just got hit. For one, you got to make sure the kid's okay. You got to see who else is here that witnessed it. You got to see what happened, make sure nobody's like fleeing the scene or something like that. I mean, it's just, to me, that's all logical. But
no, you're really good. But I do think you're really good at analyzing the situation. Just like with Jeremy, we were talking one day about Bigfoot. Dave, you saw a Bigfoot and you had a gun. Would you shoot it? I'm like,
no.
Absolutely, I would shoot it.
No.
That's my first instinct. And he goes, what about the other ones you're not seeing? I'm like, oh shit, I didn't think about that.
Not only that, but what makes you think a Bigfoot is
not human.
Hostile?
And you don't know. But I was thinking the credit or whatever.
To kind of key off, so what you do and what you were taught in the military, did that come, like the first part or 3/4 of it come pretty natural? Like you were already doing that before?
I think I was doing that to a degree.
And then you kind of honed your
He's
skills.
analytical.
Yeah.
A lot of parallels between us. But so my point is, like if you saw a bear, Bigfoot, whatever, or a person, within a couple seconds, if there's a hostility event based off what's going on.
Well,
most of the time.
Well, like, let's use a bear for example.
Yeah.
If I'm in Alaska and I see a bear, I'm going to defend myself and take cover. If I'm Missouri and I see a black bear, I'm not necessarily going to try to kill it or defend myself. I'm going to back away from it because I think it's been around humans. It's not as hostile. It's probably had food sources, so it's not as hungry and as aggressive. And if it's not coming towards me, why should I go towards it?
Yeah. So you're gonna back up. Same with the mountain lion or whatever. And that's kind of like I was talking with Dave when we were talking about the Bigfoot thing. Is if you shoot it, like a lot of people don't realize is we're now starting to realize that if they are real, they're social. Just like if they're an ape, there's going to be more than one of them.
Yeah.
So if you shoot one,
my first instinct's not a good one.
Yeah, because because generally if an animal shows itself, it's more likely trying. No different than like if you puff your chest, they're wanting you to get out of there. If they're showing you, because I mean, like a mountain lion, if it shows itself to you, it's probably not trying to eat you. It wants you to go away. Because if it wants to eat you, it would have pounced on you.
Because they're really good at that.
Yes, it happened to be pretty decent. And that as you were talking about how you read people and you're training people to interact, I've always one of my knacks was I like playing poker, and I realized I can't play Texas Hold'em online. I can play Texas Hold'em in person. Yeah, it's not supernatural. It's the ticks. It's how somebody reacts or how they shift, or it's all the body language. And I think we kind of briefly talked about it. Like there was Indian scouts, and they did a study back in Vietnam that they were taking Native Americans that supposedly had all these supernatural powers that they could sense when somebody was coming, and they would bring them in. They'd take them through basic training, and shave them, cut their hair, put them out there, and they were performing as normal, or if not below par. And they realized they started talking about, well, normally we have long hair, and they then took a isolated group of them, pulled them, and let them stay with the long hair, which translated in like in Iraq when people were growing facial hair. Mm-hmm. There's something about the hair on your head is almost like a sixth sense. It picks
like an antenna or something.
Like an antenna. You wind movement, smell, that they did better if they had the full length of hair, that they were more in tune with that, nature. I think it was they were just that in tune with themselves and their surrounding.
Right.
But that's...
But to get back with being around with Juan, and we hung out every weekend. God bless you. But we pulled each other.
Thank you for keeping him alive all these years.
And you know what? There's a lot of fact to that. But he was really good at reading a room, and I've been like talking as a girl because we're always chasing girls. We're down at Westport having a good time dancing and having a good time. Sometimes with Chuck, who got us in more trouble. Yeah. But Juan was like, no. He goes, she's trouble, or that's a hood rat, or what, But I mean, he was able to pick up. He was able to read. He's able to read people. When he saw, Juan's always been around my children, and when he saw Brandon, he looked right at it and goes, "You're gonna have trouble with that one." And you know what? He was right. That was my trouble, Chuck. I had a lot of trouble with him. So he
tried to steal my girlfriend at 3 years old. I knew he was gonna be trouble.
Well, everybody tried to steal your girlfriend at 3 years old.
Yeah, there's certain hints that are pretty easy to read.
And you know what? And kudos to him that he thought he had enough game to do that
at 3 years old.
That's the problem. He was making progress.
And by the way, I do have pictures we can send a link with Juan and Brandon holding hands, a little blonde-headed boy at Universal Studios with his girlfriend at the time. They're absolutely adorable.
So can I ask a question? Sorry.
No, I want you to.
So I'm fascinated with this, what you said, Juan, where at first everybody judges everybody on first impressions, and we I like what you said, where you can't keep them in that box. You have to to learn from them.
Yeah.
Do you think that strategy and or approach could be used in the paranormal field and applied to paranormal experiences?
Exactly. Well, just like he was saying, like he was describing the different types of spirits or entities, and I think
He was already putting them in boxes.
yeah, you know,
Yeah, just
I'm
ship
listening
them.
to the situation and I'm thinking, okay, so what are you dealing with here? You have to figure out what you're dealing with. Then you got to look at the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm in a brand new house that was just built like this, one brand new house just built, and then all of a sudden I see a ancient Indian walk through the room, and I'm thinking, why is an ancient Indian walking through the room of this brand new house?
That's what I keep asking myself.
It's like not related to anything. Just by the
Well,
way,
why is that happening?
Yeah, so I'm thinking, okay, I didn't see that for one, and most likely I'm convinced myself I didn't see it because it's not plausible.
Dave's done a pretty good job about convincing him he didn't see
Yeah, I
it.
have no idea. I don't know what I saw, but it wouldn't go.
So
It could be on an Indian mound that's thousands of years old. We don't know that.
Yeah, we
I
don't
mean,
even
St.
know
Louis
about
was famous for that. They said the hill in St. Louis, it was a big Indian mound. They leveled him.
Arkansas, Ark City, Kansas, is they're now finding out that was an Indian city with up to 1 million people in that area.
Yeah, it was a metropolis.
Yeah, before
a
Frank
thriving,
Columbus.
a thriving city. That's right.
Well,
So-
see, if I saw that, I'm saying that didn't happen. I don't believe it. Nothing. And then later on, I hear some history and I find out more. Then I put that in a different box. It's moved.
put it in a different perspective.
Yeah, but to put that in some, do you think if it was a cowboy like at early 1900s in chaps and had a hat and walked by, would you believe that more than if you saw like an Indian? I mean, does it
had no
matter?
reason to.
You think he's in Westward again?
I would think. I didn't see that. I don't know what that was.
It's just like
I'm
if
in
you could
denial
see
about
through
it.
it. Okay.
Until you know, I've stereotyped that situation, and if I don't get any more information,
It just stays in that box.
it stays there.
So I have another question, but I have
He's like at 15 questions. He's going to say one more
Yeah,
question.
no,
He's lying.
he's got a page.
I got a couple questions.
Okay.
First one's a really, really easy one. Being from growing up in St. Louis, I've always been fascinated with they call it Dollhouse Row. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Never heard of that.
So there's a
I told me you were going to say White Castle. Oh,
dude,
yes.
That was started in
I love
Kansas.
White Castle.
Me too, bro.
White Castle was in Wichita, Kansas. Same with Pizza Hut.
Crystal's amazing.
It
And
is
for
really hot.
whatever reason, they drove them
Wow,
out.
those are
Pizza Hut stuck
amazing.
around, but
Yeah. Oh, we all.
Yeah, so
but
Dollhouse
you
Row
got a great Mardi Gras over there.
is just a
Yeah,
street
Brandon
where
loved it. Yeah,
the houses when St. Louis burned down, the houses are still standing, but the brick part that they were using, the bricks that they used for the backs of the houses, weren't fireproof. So those, if I'm correct, I may be wrong, people.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah,
So
pretty much every episode.
those houses are still all along a street, but they have no backs to them, and you can see inside the house, and it's like looking into dollhouses.
You don't even know about that?
You know what I'm talking about, Jeremy, right?
And so I was thinking of a different one. I know what you're. So, but basically, there's a section of buildings that they're just the front facade and like the floor. So when you walk by, it looks like an old dollhouse where you open it up.
I see.
They're not used
That's
buildings
pretty cool.
anymore. They
Yeah, they're
kept
not
the
furnished.
facade.
I bet that's amazing.
Up front
Yeah.
to keep so you still see the building.
That's
But
kinda
if you go
creepy,
down
though.
the
I mean, real
alleyways,
life
they're all
size,
opened
right?
up. There's
Yeah,
But-
that's creepy.
But it's
There-
even creepier because the city. It's because the city burned down
Uh-huh.
and they're still standing, but the bricks they use.
Why won't they demolish them and rebuild?
because
Because it's
the front of the front of the buildings is still there for a historic view.
Yeah.
But I think it's that it takes a lot of money to fix that. Or if you tear it down, then you just have this empty, vacant area. That,
Well, that's all the vagrants.
But it's like a
They're all
landmark.
living-
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
sure all the
There's a
vagrants.
fine
I mean,
line
I've been to
that
St. Louis a few
people-
times. Hey, you know the vagrants. Like, this thing's open.
I think it's down close to Lemp Mansion
Yeah.
area.
But there's actually
right.
quite a few supernatural area. Like there's a road and bridge that's known for haunting. Well, you had the Momo,
Oh, yeah, I do.
the Missouri Monster was just north of.
I am
Is it
definitely.
north? Yeah, just north of St. Louis. not quite. It was by the river, not by Alton. I don't know if you ever looked into that.
No, I haven't, but I lived in Alton for a while, so I know the area.
So Juan, let's jump on your childhood.
Well, he's got another one. Look at him.
No, you have another question?
Yeah, he's got 15 rolled in his
got one
Rolodex.
more.
I thought you said
One
okay.
more.
All right,
One more,
I'll leave
Larry.
it.
One more.
My bad.
So, going back to keeping things in boxes until you've gathered enough evidence to ascertain what you're dealing with or how to interact or assess the situation. The Jewish culture has this theory where they capture spirits and imprison them, I guess is a good word.
Entraps them in a box.
Entraps them into
Tell me
box.
a divot box?
Yeah,
a divot box.
yeah.
And they cover it with wax and yarn and all
Sure,
that stuff
sure.
so that they can't get out and all that.
You seal it.
You
you
seal
will.
it, basically.
There's
yeah.
also very similar practices in the Catholic religion.
There is, but my question particularly is, a person experiences a spirit and they have the capability of performing this rite or this passage of containing it in a box because at first glance, first judgment, they don't know what they're dealing with. There goes the GoPro off. Sorry, folks.
It went off?
Yeah,
it
the
turned
battery
itself
just
off.
died
The battery died. They're freaked out because upon first judgment, they experience something that they can't explain. It scares them. And as a human nature, when we experience something we can't explain, we freak out. We don't accept. We fight instead of flight or accept. That they entrap something that might not be malevolent, but because that thing has been trapped and has no
For so long.
escape route
Sure.
and has been forced to reside in this thing, that
It
doesn't.
might get angry over 1,000 years.
It
Would you?
turns into a malevolent force of some sort, even though that wasn't its pure intention to begin with. It was just curious. I know that's a
Weird.
long.
That's a far stretch on boxes. I'm
I
just saying.
think too much is what I'm saying.
So what's your question?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, isn't that the basic theory behind a genie? I mean,
Very similar, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
So
He
yeah,
knows what I'm
they-
talking about.
They have different.
Because I didn't.
genie, gin.
I didn't either.
Yeah, but speaking about boxes, what I think I might take this wrong, but what makes me interested is like we do investigations, we don't hunt. I would love to hear your theory of taking your box theory and going more in depth on spirits, like how okay, hey, this one seems calm or collective, and then if it starts escalating, how would you set protocols up on, hey, this is a good time that we just need to leave. So one of my past experiences, I've not really, most of the stuff I've dealt with has been human of some sort, nothing really scary.
Okay.
I've had
That's
one
something.
experience that I had something that told me to get out in my head, and it did not feel human. It was the first time I ever had, I've had things happen, you get the fight or flight, and I want to fight, I was young, and that one, when it happened in my head, there was no fight. It was like, I'm out. It was like, and that's what actually caused me more issues mentally, because I've always been that, fight or flight. I'm on a fight and stand my ground. That one, when it said that, I was like, my feet were already moving. It was like, and that wasn't natural for me. So that'd be kind of neat if you ever have time to sit down and we can kind of lay out, if you were to encounter something, this is, how you think of your
Let me
boxes.
ask all y'all this, see what you all think of it. Have you ever? I know you all done a couple investigations and stuff. Have you ever done an investigation on something that's related to a possession?
I have not done a possession. Personally.
I haven't, but Rick has.
So
With one of our ex team members, which I won't. Get
Is
into.
this the person that Rick actually saw the demon that's attached to him
In the
and
mirror?
sent him to the archdiocese, right? To get it taken care of. I've heard little bits of that story. That's terrifying to me.
So with that being said, I mean, would you be willing to do it?
Yep.
No,
I would.
not me.
I don't got anything to
You
live
think you
for.
would?
I don't know. But, so
I would not. I'm gonna tell you flat out, I would not.
So there's
Because
like Dave won't go to a certain house up in Atchison because he's worried that there's something
The possibility of demons, yeah.
but that goes to my theory. I mean, I don't know anything about the house in Atchison, but I mean, I would not go and investigate a possession because now we're talking about a hostile entity. So
Okay, yes.
Not only an entity, but it's been around for. We have no. I mean, a ghost we can say 100 years, 200 years old, but we're talking about a demon. I mean, we're talking serious stuff here, guys.
As you're like, if it was a person possessed in a building, yeah, I'd still fall for it. Because like the one place that they're getting ready to tear the building down,
Because you're an idiot.
Is Bobby Mackey. No, I just have more faith. It's okay.
So yeah, but how do you determine with something that
I've made my deals with
something
the
that
Lord
we
above,
can't.
and I'm willing to.
I love that.
but can you or will he protect?
I mean, that
you
was
from
a slap in
demons?
my face, but I love that.
I mean, that's like now this. Wow, that's a great question. I guess because I don't. Weird conversation. Sorry, we're cutting Larry off. I don't.
Larry who?
Yeah, paradigm.
Shove in the corner.
So one of my things is I don't have faith because I've seen too much. I've seen enough that like I've had things talk to me. I've talked to things that I've made
Fucking
personal.
wings hit my ass.
But why would that affect your faith?
Well, I don't have to
I
have
don't know how
faith.
much I paid.
I've had
I
something.
disagree.
Well, no, so me, it's
faith is just that. I mean, it's having
Well-
faith in something without the proof.
I've had the proof. I've had something talk to me that I no longer. That is not a question. I know that there's someone, and
Okay.
I've talked to them to a point of making. I believe in this, and I'm strong enough in that they may not necessarily protect me, but the family that I have and my kids. So that's where my difference is. Could be totally wrong. Could have misinterpreted it, but that's the difference with me. Like, because I have some not just Dave, but I have other friends that are very religious, and it's weird talking to somebody. Like Dave's a little different on that because he's seen these things. He's not necessarily seen them, but he's interacted with things. The fact that I know there's things after death. It's not just some black hole.
Yeah.
There is. I've felt things that I think are demonic. They didn't feel human per se. So I've felt that. I've read certain books, asked certain questions, and gotten answers that were, I guess, the closest I could say would be divine. That put a rest in my mind that's not. I'm not worried about that aspect. That I believe that we are protected. It's not, and I guess that I believe because there's some sort of that would be faith because I don't have 100%. I just feel like I got like 95% reassurance.
So, if you don't mind me jumping in here,
Nope. What were you saying?
so you asked the question whether or not we would be willing to investigate something like that. So, I just wanted to bring up the point that how do you know? Because we really don't know anything when it comes to the paranormal field. How do you know just by someone else's? Thank you. I don't know why everybody's giving me their fireball stickers. How do you know based on someone else's testimony that what they were dealing with is in fact non-human, demonic of sorts?
Well, generally,
unless you've experienced it yourself.
Well, usually it's when the Catholic priest is doing the exorcism on
Yeah,
somebody.
but you can't believe anything a Catholic priest says, in my opinion, because
Good touch, bad touch, Larry?
yeah, I'm just gonna say that. I'm not trying to be mean or rude or anything, but
Well, I think you always try to push the limits of blaming the church. I've seen it with everything we've ever done.
Well,
I do see you always pushing against the church or blaming the church, like Salem witch trials and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to make an argument,
No.
but you have a hard on against religion, whether it's organized religion.
I think it's more organized. We had that conversation.
Yeah.
So
it's organized. The bad things the organization has done over the years.
Yeah, and
I'm not Catholic, so I'm not taking offense to it.
No, and I'm not getting at that per se, but okay, so
would you believe a shaman over
No. So what I'm saying is...
Yeah, what are you saying?
All right. So I'm a scientist. I deal with making vaccines, right, for animals, and I do all the testing and develop the testing for all that kind of stuff. If someone were to come
Wuhan?
up... Huh?
At Wuhan?
No. So if someone were to come up to me and tell me that they've developed this new math equation and this changes how we perceive, say, like gravity or some shit like that, right? I'm not going to say, you're full of crap, that's wrong. I have no idea how you came up with this, but there's already a position in place, right? I can't do that because I don't have the expertise and whatnot to justify disagreeing with that person, right? When it comes to the paranormal and all that kind of stuff, there are no true experts. We have no idea, excuse my language, what the fuck anybody's dealing with, right?
I agree. There's no such thing as a professional.
So how can you
ghost hunter or whatever? I mean, they might get paid to do the show or whatever.
So how can you physically say if a priest says, well, you're dealing with a demon, they don't know.
Yes, I will give you that. But what you're forgetting is there are specialists. Like, it's multiple religions.
They're trained in that.
That are trained in that. Yeah. Because, like, a lot of people don't understand, like, the book of exorcism that they use to exorcise demons isn't a Catholic book. It wasn't done by them.
But how do you justify that without any scientific provable data?
A lot of times, Larry,
back it.
If a church is going to go somewhere and perform an exorcism, they do have 2 or 3 other different parties with them evaluating that person. Not only a psychological evaluation, but someone that is in the field of paranormal to investigate it as well.
I mean,
so it's always not always just one person or one religion.
So rabbis have certain protocols on that stuff because, I mean, if you really get into Old Testament and that, there's a lot more stuff that's paranormal in Old Testament than New Testament. The New Testament doesn't even really talk about exorcism, but the book of exorcism and what they use to go, those are specialized priests that have gone and based off of what they've done in the past, just like what you've done for science, as you say, this is what works, this is what doesn't work, here's their outcomes. That's why only certain people do that. Yeah. And there's other, when you start getting, I don't know if you know about the stigmata. Yeah. The closer you are to God, the more the demons come after you. The closer you are to certain things. So there's that fine line.
You're a target, yeah.
Yeah, you become a target. And
so yeah, it does. So yeah, it does come down to, and I hate feeling like this and presenting myself like this because I come across as a dick and an asshole. And if you don't truly believe. Like, I believe there is stuff out there, and there possibly is a higher power, but I don't know what it is, so I can't justify.
Well, that's your journey. Though,
what it is.
That's literally
like so.
I know, you've already been down this road.
No. When dealing with science and dealing with like math and everything,
have you proved that math out yourself?
So we'll get into the stuff I do. All right.
Yeah.
So when I have a test, so say I'm dealing with a quantitative PCR or an ELISA to detect the antibodies and the relative potency of a virus that we have made and we have quantified and we know how it acts, how it responds, what those antibodies are, all that stuff. And I have tests that have proven time and time again that are able to determine those patterns and those.
Were you the one that initialized the first test to set those standards?
Yes.
Up? So you're not relying on somebody else's research up to that point.
When it comes to like the stuff that I have done, like developing tests, I didn't necessarily start the initial tests, but I have come in to work on those
And you revalidated the information.
revalidated that information by doing my own
So
initial
how many
tests.
exorcisms need to be done for that to be revalidated?
But that's the thing. You can't. Oh God, I'm an asshole. I'm sorry.
No, it's
Well, I mean, any type of science, they got peer reviews. And
Yes.
that's how they prove it, by peer reviews, and they may necessarily, everybody could be wrong.
yes.
But with religion, we don't necessarily have that, and the only real basis we have with that is the Catholic Church. All the other religions, there's no. I mean, they could be thousands of years old, but there's no foundation of them, and it's just word of mouth. But the Catholic Church has tracked most of the
They've
stuff.
done a lot of
But with-
documentation
yeah.
on this
And
stuff.
with that, they've hidden a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And like
Not
I
gonna lie
said,
on that one, yeah.
Well, that's true.
what they say, it's
Oh,
66
absolutely.
books of the Bible, but in actuality, it's like 88 or 89.
Yeah, well, like the
But-
Ethiopian Bible,
Yeah,
which is the oldest, has more books than the modern day.
Yeah, the Catholic Church is hiding that because they don't want people to know that,
Well, they pick certain
like, the
books.
evil portions of the religion. They don't want to acknowledge it, but
They pick
you can't take the good without
They
the
pick
bad.
certain books and go into the Bible.
So-
But I really think we're getting off on the deep end.
No. Final.
He's trying to get to a point.
I'm trying
Don't
to get
say
to a
final.
point.
We know it's not final.
final point on this subject is that what I'm getting at is with the paranormal as opposed to science in that kind of.
But there's no science in paranormal.
Yeah, there is.
There is.
That's what I'm getting at is that when people go on paranormal investigations or priests perform exorcisms and all this kind of stuff, when you're dealing
That's
with this
different.
realm of stuff, it is not repeatable.
But, I mean,
Well, but there has to be
exorcisms are
repeatable.
different than paranormal
So-
hunts.
so
investigation.
keep
Come
in
on,
mind-
guys. We're using
Yeah.
we're
It's gotta be
using scissors
repeatable.
to
There's a
pick
book
up
of exorcism.
energy.
I mean,
Yeah,
they're
they
using the
repeat
same
it.
process.
We just don't have access to the data to be able to reconfirm it.
And that's perfectly
No,
fine.
and
I get
I
that.
give you that because you're not willing to put faith in somebody else's work of that nature.
That's what I was getting at. Thank you.
I would agree with you in the paranormal, and when we're talking about even with the Catholic religion and demons, we are still in the dark ages of what we're doing.
Yes.
Because like even if we're right, Catholicism's been around for 2,000 years roughly.
It's a blip in human existence.
Yeah, we're talking about things, entities that could be millennia.
But the
you know,
paranormal
100,000.
is a smear on an ass.
Yes,
Right?
and that's where we're in the dark ages. We haven't figured out. We're getting better. We're full spectrum cameras now. We realize that maybe our eyes can't pick everything up. I think our eyes pick up some of it, like you catch the right glimpse and it comes into a visible spectrum, so you see it, but it's not always.
Yeah.
Cats seeing stuff or
we're
dogs.
In this,
Yeah.
We're in the Salem witch trials of paranormal. Yes. And
Spectral evidence.
I just want to apologize, Juan. If you hate me, I totally accept that.
For what?
I have a lot of questions, and
Well, I love it because
get passionate
The
about
more
this kind of
questions
stuff.
the
Yes.
more you can
well, the more you
understand.
can deduce things. Well, again, like we're talking about, the questions can trigger other. Like, well, I didn't think about it that way. Well, okay, if that's the case, then you go. That's the whole point of this, is to have the discussions. About it.
Absolutely.
And I hate to say this, but that's
Why do
what's
you keep on saying, "Hey"?
that's what I feel like as a society we've lost sight of over the past 50 or 60 years, is people just can't have conversations anymore and learn from each other.
We definitely cannot. I mean,
And-
especially when it comes to politics and religion. I mean, it's antsy, and we're gonna fist fight, right? I mean, it's unfortunate.
I wasn't talking just politics. I
No,
was
it's just
talking
everything in
No,
general.
you can't have
there-
a disagreement, and you know what? Because we've been dumbed down.
And
Technology has dumbed us down
Yes.
so bad.
And I
that-
appreciate what you said, not having the data because it hasn't. And that's the same
Yes.
with UFOs.
Yes, the government's been hiding a
That's
bunch of
another
stuff.
horse of another color.
And
Well, anything that we're talking about. I mean, this is why we're talking about it.
So I appreciate that you guys understand where I was going, because
Well,
I
do.
kind of felt like
but
a
I'm getting there.
jackass.
Well, that's personal. That's nothing.
Yeah.
That's not our fault.
So I'm done.
And what you do with that donkey is between you and that donkey.
So let's take another quick break, and we'll be right back to.
With
And
more
maybe talk
Juan's
about what-
personal
Yeah,
experiences.
we'll get back on
Actually,
subject,
let Juan
I swear.
talk.
We'll get back on what Lynn wants, because that's why he's here.
Hopefully you're enjoying the conversation so far.
I am.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't mean for that to go down a rabbit hole.
No, I mean that's almost
I don't
our
think
whole
it's a
podcast, though.
rabbit
It's an interesting rabbit hole, though. We can all have some add something to it. I think.
Fireball.